حي على الفلاح.
Barsisa was a monk and he was a pious worshipper of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Anyway, Barsisa was from Banu Israel and he had his own temple and he would worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala day and night, and some narrations talk about him worshipping Allah for about 60 years. One day, three brothers, they decided to go on jihad. They wanted to go on a long expedition. They had one problem. They had a sister. And this sister, they didn't know what to do with her. Who's going to look after their sister while they're away? So they, sought counsel with one another. They decided who better to leave their sister with than this great monk, this great worshipper of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this pious person by the name of Barsisa. So they went to Barsisa and they said, listen, Barsisa, we want to go and perform jihad. We want to go away and do, on this long expedition, and we want you, Barsisa, to look after our sister. Now immediately Barsisa says, A'udhu billah, I seek refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He didn't want any form of temptation or any kind of fitna, and so the brothers walked away. Then Shaitan came to Barsisa and said, listen, Barsisa, you're a pious person. You're the most pious person in town. If you don't look after their sister, then maybe somebody else will, and maybe they'll do something bad with her. They won't look after her well, they won't treat her well, and maybe she will be a temptation for them. So Shaitan came to Barsisa in this way. So Barsisa went to these three brothers and he basically said to them, listen, I'll agree, I will look after your sister. However, she will stay in a room that is specifically, next to the temple where I worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They bid farewell to their sister, and Barsisa would basically look after their sister and she would stay in the room next to the temple. Barsisa would never enter that room. So he would cook some food for her and he would leave it outside his own house or at the temple. And so she would come outside, she would take the food and then go back into her room. And then, and this happened for a while. And then eventually Shaitan came to Barsisa and said, listen, this poor woman, she's coming outside of her house in order to get this food. What are you doing, Barsisa? You should at least take the food to her so she doesn't have to come outside. She's a beautiful woman. Maybe someone will see her and maybe they will do some kind of harm to her. Barsisa eventually, he started taking the food to this woman's house. And he would leave the food outside the house of this woman, outside the room of this woman, knock on the door, and then he would disappear. And as such, the woman would come out, take the food and go back in. And this happened for a long time. Remember, the brothers of this sister, they'd gone away on jihad on this long expedition and they hadn't yet returned. So this happened for a long time. Eventually, Shaitan came to Barsisa and says, look, she's still coming outside, she's all alone, she's going to come out of her room, and what's going to happen? Maybe someone will see her, she's a beautiful woman, and perhaps, they will do some harm to her. So Barsisa said, okay, look, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go inside the house, leave the food there and come out. I won't say a word. So he started to do that. He'd knock on the door, she would open the door, and then he would leave the food inside of her house. And this happened for a long time. He would not utter a word and she would not utter a word. Then as time went on, Shaitan came back to Barsisa and says, listen, Barsisa, this poor woman, she's by herself, she's going to go mad. Her brothers have gone for a long time, she doesn't go out much. She doesn't have anybody to speak to. You should at least ask how she is. So Barsisa initially started to talk to her from outside of the door. So he'd go in, leave the food, come out and speak to her from behind the curtain. And as time went on, slowly, the chats became longer, it became a bit more informal, and he began to enjoy her company. So Shaitan came to him once again and says, what's the problem? Just go in, have a little chat. You're a pious person. And so he started to go in and visit this woman. And as time went on, the chats became longer. he would end up spending, the night in her house. And eventually they fell into zina. This great monk, this great worshipper of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this person who engaged 60 years of his life in the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he was a pious man. Eventually Shaitan tricks him and eventually he falls into zina. She gets pregnant, she gives birth to a child, and still her brothers haven't returned. So Shaitan came to Barsisa and says, listen, Barsisa, what's going to happen when these brothers come back and they see that you've committed zina with this woman? You better kill this child. You better murder this child. So Barsisa goes away and he murders this child. And as time goes on, Shaitan comes back to him and says, Barsisa, are you crazy? What are you doing? Look at this woman. Do you really think you have just killed her child? Do you really think she's going to keep quiet? She's not going to keep quiet. She's going to inform people that you've murdered her child. She has this love for her child. So Barsisa, he asked, what should I do? Shaitan said to him that, listen, you need to murder this woman and bury her, and people will believe you. Just say that she fell sick and she died and you buried her. And this is precisely what Barsisa did. He murdered this woman. Eventually the three brothers come back. They come to Barsisa, asking about their sister, and Barsisa says, listen, I'm really sorry, but your sister, she fell ill and she died. And so the brothers, they believed Barsisa. Barsisa was a pious man as far as they're concerned. He was a monk. He's been worshipping Allah for 60 years. So they go back home and then they go to sleep. And that night, one of them had a dream. He woke up in the morning and he said, listen, I had a really strange dream. I had a dream that the place where Barsisa told us where our sister is buried, in fact, she's not buried there. She's buried in another place. And actually he had committed zina. She had a child and he murdered both the mother and the child. And in fact, this is what Barsisa has done. So the another brother, he says, you know what, subhanAllah, this is exactly the same dream that I had. So they also had this same dream. So they went to the place where, and actually some narrations say that it was Shaitan who came to them in this vision, in this dream, and told them. Look how Shaitan works. So they went to the place where in their dream they saw that Barsisa had buried their sister, and lo and behold, they dug it up and they saw their sister there buried along with a baby. So they go back to Barsisa and said, Barsisa, you lied to us. This is actually what you did. We're going to take you now to the ruler and you're going to be punished. Now, Barsisa is really upset. He's anxious. What does he do? What should a person do at this point? He should make tawbah to Allah. He should repent to Allah. Barsisa, he did not do this. And eventually, he has been, they're going to crucify Barsisa. They're going to execute him for this great crime. So what do? On the way, as they're going to crucify him, and some narrations say he was actually on the cross. They're about to crucify him. They're about to execute him for this crime. And what happens? Shaitan comes to him now in the form of a man. And he says, Barsisa, do you know who I am? And Barsisa says, no. He says, I am Shaitan, I'm Iblis. And I'm the one who got you into this mess in the first place. And I'm the only one who can get you out of this mess. So Barsisa, what I want you to do is to prostrate to me a prostration of worship. If you do this, then I will get you out of this mess. So Barsisa says, I'll do anything to get out of this mess. So he prostrates to Iblis. He prostrates to him as an act of ibadah to Shaitan. So when he prostrates, Shaitan disappears and they crucify Barsisa. Look at this, brothers and sisters. Here was a monk. Here was a person who's a worshipper of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what does he do? Slowly, Shaitan gets to him. He doesn't tell him straight away, commit zina, but no, and eventually this man falls into zina. Not only does he fall into zina, but because he does not repent to Allah, he then goes on to murder this, two people, his own child and this woman. He murders these two people. And then he lies about it. And then he prostrates as an act of worship to Shaitan. And that is when he dies. All 60 years of his worship wasted. He ends up dying as a worshipper of the devil, not a worshipper of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.